Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Jeff Gudewicz and I'm from WeBoost of Wilson Electronics. And what I'd like to do is talk to you a little bit today about products and solutions that we have specifically targeted for keeping your workforce connected. Before I start, I also want to just give a thanks to Tesco for giving us the platform here to share a little bit more details about our products and solutions from WeBoost of Wilson Electronics. My name is Jeff, as I said, and I'm the Vice President of Corporate Development. And in that role, I'm basically responsible for aligning our engineering and design resources, along with our sales and marketing teams and customers, to formulate our roadmaps and our product roadmaps, as well as maintain and manage our existing product life cycles. So with that, no presentation is complete without a data slide. So here I want to share some statistics about what is the mobile workforce, how important is it, and what's the one essential key ingredient in order to keep that workforce connected. And so some simple facts here. Data on the mobile workforce, and this is primarily designed for folks that work out of the home, and I'll share some examples of other locations as well. But over 26 million people work from their home in 2010, and that's growing every year. And in 20 to 30, at least one day a week. So it's not necessarily a full-time work out of your home scenario, but lots of instances where people have the flexibility of taking con calls and things during a portion of their day, and then being able to work in an office or out on the road whenever possible. Traditionally for the mobile workforce, a lot of people normally associate that with the road warrior. So the person that's the field sales, out in their car all day long, driving from customer to customer, as well as technical fleet services is another big area for mobile, as well as early responders and first responders and emergency rescue. And then home-based businesses. One of the advantages of having reliable and constant connectivity in the home is it enables a lot of folks to start up their own business and run it completely out of their home. And then lastly, there is roughly 30 million people that are in full-time home-based businesses. So again, I don't think there's any merit or any debate on whether or not people are being more mobile and workforces are becoming more mobile and telecommuting more. I think it's really a matter of how efficiently and effectively can they do that, and then how do you enable that. And IDC had some stats out that says they expect over 75% of the global workforce to be mobile within the next year or so. So I think we all experience that. Everybody here at the show today, I know we're all relying on being connected back to an office somewhere. So we're all mobile, so I won't ask people who is mobile and not. I think really the question is what kind of people are not mobile when they're working. So benefits, there's benefits both to the employer and the employee. I mean, employees obviously have a lot more flexibility by being able to work mobile in an environment like that. But mostly, 77% people report greater productivity by allowing them to work off-site. I myself, I do several conference calls and things from home on occasion, so you're able to be on your cell phone, on conference calls, and at the same time, online checking email, responding to emails coming in, and instant messaging folks who are normally on a con call too, asking the same questions. And then, people are willing to work longer hours by being on site. Up to 23% people, are willing to work longer hours, and most of that is just because you really kind of blur the line between being in your office and not. And so you typically respond to email and questions and phone calls outside of traditional 9 to 5 working hours. And then the interesting factor is over 40% say that they feel just as connected with their colleagues when they're on site. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that we have so many mobile enterprise solutions as well. So most people traditionally felt like they had to be in an office in order to be connected to enterprise platforms and software. But now with broadband connectivity and wireless broadband connectivity, allows a lot more people to be flexible while they're out of the office, not just on phone calls or answering emails. And then some even feel more connected. And then lastly, 40%, this is really the important part that really lead into the discussion today, is 40% of the telecommuters say that they can conduct at least half of their work from a smart device, whether it be a smartphone, a tablet, or a mobile device. And so in order to do that, you really need one key ingredient, and that is a reliable connection. Right? So your mobile workforce is only effective as they are connected at any given point in time. And there's a lot of issues with that. But we'll talk about a few different scenarios. On the road, as I mentioned, field sales, tech support, fleet services for maintenance and sales, and then also first responders is another big important part for mobile connectivity. Border Patrol agents and emergency rescue, they rely on their cell phones. It's not just the two-way radio connectivity back to the back to the operator, but it also is their cell phone. And being in remote areas, having reliable connection, being an early responder is really important. The home office looks pretty comfortable there. But home offices are more and more utilized today. People have the flexibility of being able to work out of their home as well as in an office. And then lastly, I don't think a lot of people necessarily associate telecommuting or a mobile workforce as an enterprise. But I can give you an example. I know everybody has the same experience. I spend probably less than 20-25% of my day in my office. You're walking around. The facility I work out of, we have multiple buildings, and so you're constantly walking between locations, and so having reliable connection is really important within the enterprise as well. Not to mention the fact that there's a lot more offices moving towards shared space kinds of setups where people more or less collaborate in larger open areas as instead of just traditional cube farm or traditional office. So how do we do that? Or who we are, I'm sorry. So WeBoost, a little bit about us. We're formerly Wilson Electronics. WeBoost is our largest consumer products brand. We're conveniently located just 90 miles up the road from here in beautiful St. George, Utah. But we're really one of the pioneers in cellular signal boosters from our founder, Jim Wilson. We have a very rich history in RF. We have a large portfolio of IP and patents. A lot of our products from Jim started with antennas, CB antennas, cellular antennas, satellite antennas, and then that morphed into two-way radios and satellite tuners. But it really wasn't until the late 1990s that Jim started the business based around cellular boosters. And really what that comes out of, like most products, they're born out of necessity. And so in parts of the rural West, where networks weren't very dense and you traditionally were very far from a tower or in an area that was obstructed from a cellular signal, Jim Wilson developed a signal booster for this part of the country just because he needed to be in contact. And there's plenty of areas out here where you just lose connection. I think we can all have the example of we know exactly the mile marker in our car where you're on the phone with somebody saying, I'm going to lose you in 1 mile because I always know I'm going to drop a call here, and you do. And so what the signal booster was really developed for was to maintain that constant connection. And so as you travel towards the network edge, it really helps boost the signal and bring you closer to the tower. And I'll go into some product categories in a little bit, but again, a little bit about us. So we are a leading manufacturer. We do everything in St. George, Utah, so we have corporate sales as well as manufacturing and operations just up the road. We're also one of the leading booster manufacturers here who worked with both the FCC along with all the carriers in North America to adopt standardized rules and regulations that were put in place of May 1st, 2014. And so previous to that, cellular signal boosters weren't regulated, they weren't controlled by the FCC. And so you had the instance where a lot of manufacturers would dial up performance and essentially saturate a cell tower or cause some harm to the front end of a network. And so we got together along with the FCC, as I said, and the other carriers. We put a firm set of rules around performance that the carriers agreed, as long as you abide by these performance standards, it would not feel that they harmed the network or caused damage to the cell towers. And so we've been doing that for a little over a year now. And again, we also have tech support, as I mentioned, in sales in St. George, so we do have free 7-day-a-week full-time tech support. So how do we do this? As I mentioned, telecommuting workforce is really, we divide it into 3 buckets, the mobile, the home, and then the enterprise. And so for mobile, I want to touch on a few product categories here targeted to the mobile. The first is for a single user, and this is our Drive 4GS. It's a very simple device to use, very plug and play. It's a cradle-based device, and so you see here it has flexible adjustable arms, and all the circuitry is located behind the cradle there. So all you have to do is slide your smartphone, and the arms do adjust for a number of different form factors for phones as well as cases. And what the Drive 4GS will do is collect that outside signal, bring it into the signal booster. The product itself will sense what phone is in there and what network it's on, and then boost that signal so that it maintains its maximum power connectivity back to the tower. So it essentially does some of the heavy lifting due to attenuation through the vehicle. I think a lot of us are seeing more and more as vehicles move more towards insulated glass. Automobile manufacturers are pushing now for standards for fuel efficiency, and the way they do that is by making the cabin cooler so they insulate it better to keep out UV radiation, so the air conditioning runs less. Well, all those things do one thing as well as insulate, but block RF signals from coming in. And so as I said, you just have a small outside antenna, The booster mounts to your dashboard, and then your power just comes from your 12-volt adapter. So very easy to use, very easy to fit, and some of the additional features of it or benefits is it does improve your battery life on your phone as well. So, as you get farther from the tower and your signal has to work harder, and essentially all those front-end amplifiers have to increase their gain and performance, that really drains a lot of power out of the phone. And so by having the booster do a lot of heavy lifting, like I said, that allows the phone battery to last longer. And there is an additional charging port as well, so while you're driving around hands-free and mapping, you can power your device off of the product as well. So that's a single user device, and again, all carriers. Our most powerful mobile product is the Drive 4GX, and so as similar to the Drive 4GS, it does improve across all carriers, all bands, 2G, 3G, and 4G simultaneously. Similar architecture, and then it has an outside receiving antenna. It is a larger form factor, so this has the maximum gain allowed by the FCC in a multi-user device, and you can very conveniently just put it under the seat of a vehicle, or if you have a pickup truck or a large truck, you can mount it somewhere in the cabin. And then the main difference between the previous product is this is a multi-user device. And so for the indoor antenna, since you don't have a cradle, you have this small panel antenna that you can stick to the side of a seat, inside the headrest, or the side of the between the door jambs. And what this does then is it radiates the boosted signal throughout the entire cabin. And so obviously the benefit here is that you can have 4 people sitting in a vehicle at the same time, each on a different network. One person on Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, or whoever. And all of them in a signal-challenged area. This product is actually going to boost all of those operators simultaneously and then rebroadcast that inside the vehicle throughout the entire cabin, like I said. So that provides you a very, very nice constant communication type of product for multiple users. This is a very popular product for, as I said, fleet, when you don't have a means of mounting a cradle, or like I said, first responders and things like that. One of the other benefits here from being a mobile device is that it's constantly sensing too. And so one of the things we had to work with the FCC is making sure you don't saturate a cell tower as you're driving close to a tower or away from the tower. And so, one of the main IP and the architectures of the Drive 4GX is that it's always sensing the input signals of all the bands, and so that it's dialing back its performance and limiting the uplink constantly. So that's what we have for the mobile category. Now for the home-based worker, there's really 2 main differences here. It's all based on coverage area. And so our entry level is a home 4G. Now it's a step up from the mobile products in that we're allowed to have higher levels of gain, both in the uplink and the downlink, as well as transmit powers. And really what this device is meant for, it's meant for that smaller office or even a home office. My previous home, I had an office down in a finished basement. I had great signal upstairs, but right as soon as you start to go below ground level, you can really tell the difference in the signal. And it makes your office almost unusable in certain cases. And I've been at conference calls where you hear people dropping in and off saying, sorry, I lost my call, I just dialed back in. And so what this product does, similar to the mobile category, it has an outdoor broadband receiving antenna. The best signal reception is done by mounting the antenna outside of the house, so you can overcome the loss and attenuation through the structure. But there are kits and options for you to mount it inside against a window facing the area. So what you really want to do is in your building, you'll know typically where the best signal is. It's a tower's in that direction, and so you're going to face the receiving antenna towards the tower. Similar to the mobile product, then you'll just have a small coax cable that'll connect to the broadband booster, again all bands simultaneously. And then for the smaller space, it has a really nice form factor antenna. So this is actually, it's like a little joystick type of device, and really what you can do is set it on your desk area, and then that'll propagate the coverage area up to about 1,200 square feet inside of a small building. And so very simple to use for a small area, about the size of an office, up to like a small apartment or a condominium where you can't have access to the outside world. So really good entry-level product. And then from there, I'll move on to our Connect 4G, which is our highest level kind of consumer brand. And so, again, it's just higher power than the home 4G. Traditionally cover area up to about 2,300 square feet. Again, use case and signal conditions vary, so depending on how strong or weak your outside signal is, that's really going to dictate the amount of coverage area you can do inside your home. So boosters themselves always operate optimally when you have a good outside signal, but there's a lot of attenuation through the structure. and so that's the best use case for the signal boosters. Two antennas similar on this one, only on the outdoor antenna it has a very high gain Yankee directional antenna. And so with this one you have to be a little bit more accurate at knowing where your cell tower is. Traditionally you can be within 20-30 degrees of the tower and you'll get a higher gain receive signal, all broadband simultaneously, and then all bands boosted and monitored through the product, and then you have a larger panel antenna that can propagate out 180-degree pattern throughout your home. And so traditionally you can have a multi-level home. You can put the panel antenna either up above a drop ceiling or embedded in drywall even, and it'll cover the entire home up to, like I said, roughly 2,300 square feet. Something else important about all signal boosters too is really that they're self-optimizing. There's no calibration, there's no setup, there's no gain adjustment, right? So all you do is point the outdoor antenna, set your indoor antenna, turn it on, and it's going to calibrate itself. So it's going to determine the signal strength outside of all of those, set its gain levels accordingly, and then retransmit inside. The benefit of that, though, is I think all of us probably experience is that, a cell network is breathing, and it's going to change throughout the course of a day or seasons. As heavier foliage comes down the trees, you sometimes notice that your cell signal might degrade a little bit in the northeast or in those types of areas. And then also as more buildings are built and structures change kind of the signal pattern. And then more importantly too, it's also based on network traffic. So I have an office where there's a heavy light rail station, and so throughout the course of the day, you have a large change in the number of users within that sector. And so you'll see the cell coverage of the signal dropping over the course of the day. And so what this allows you to do is constantly raise that downlink performance to your phone, or downlink signal to your phone, up to its maximum level as if you were right next to the tower. So very good product for large buildings, multi-story buildings, for all bands, as I said. Now beyond that, we talked about the enterprise. So that's for the home user or the mobile user, but we also know that more and more enterprise people are signal challenged areas. So we have a professional series line. All of the other products that you saw are available through retail, e-tail, and on our web. This category is meant just for a certified authorized professional network. So they're a little bit more rigorous to set up. They're for larger spaces, so typically we want to have a certified installer who knows how to configure, do site planning, work with our technical support team to coordinate layouts of the buildings along with signal measurements to be able to optimally design a system just for that large building. And really what this finds its place in, as I said, there's lots of small businesses too. So you hear a lot about DAS, and DAS is a great solution for larger venues, so where does this fit? The benefit here is it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So you can tailor it and customize it. You might have coverage really well in about 80% of your building, but there's this one IT closet area where you're in a bunker and there's no signal. It's a hard-to-reach area. So you can drop a small system in just to provide isolated coverage. It also has wide dynamic range, as I mentioned, maximum uplink and downlink power. And more importantly, we can do, as I said, custom site planning. So you can do multi-antenna system or multi-system. So traditionally you can cover up to 20 to 100,000 square feet depending on how many systems you have in the system. Like I mentioned, so DAS is great for 100,000 square feet and larger. Just in the U.S. alone, there are 80,000 buildings, commercial buildings, under 100,000 square feet. So that's a lot of venues where a DAS system really is a bit overkill. And if you're in one of those smaller spaces and you call a carrier because you have a signal issue, traditionally, unfortunately, the ROI probably just isn't there to justify spending money for a picocell or extending the network. And then within all of those small businesses, there's 6 million registered businesses left, or 6 million registered businesses in North America. 90% of those have 20 or fewer people. So they don't have the number of employees either to justify the expense. And so this is a great system for the enterprise and for small business. And then lastly, connected workforce is more than just people. It's also about things. As we all hear more and more about, IoT section is right next to us, and so we have a line of products that also connect telemetry devices as a point of sale. More and more retail locations are using wireless and cellular for their point of sale. It's a more secure connection versus an IP-based system. Security and surveillance, and so you can see there's a lot of machines that need to be connected to a cellular network, and a lot of those machines are put in places where they need to be, not necessarily because there's a good cellular connection, but that's where the device needs to be. You put a security camera near a door, and if you don't have a good cellular connection, then you're going to need something to help improve that. And so we have a Signal 4G that you can mount inside the cabinet of the device. We work with all modem partners and integrators to seamlessly connect into the modem, boost that signal across all bands, all carriers. And the benefit here is you can have a service team, and you can go out and call on a number of different enterprises, and independent of which carrier, they can carry the same device. And so if they show up at a site where an ATM is on one network, they can deploy one device. They go to another customer on a different network, they can deploy the same device. You know, you don't have to have registration, you don't have to pay a monthly fee. All you do is go on your network operator and you sign up and tell them who you are and that you're using a booster. You don't have to wait for permission. You can turn it on immediately. And then the best part of this is you take it with you. You own it. And so if you move and change locations, you can take this system with you and go to another location. So with all that, I want to thank you. Appreciate the time and Tesco for giving us the opportunity to talk a little bit about WeBoost and what we do to help enable keeping the workforce connected. Thank you.